Hello and welcome to Eagles East, my long-awaited campaign in Poland using my 6mm Napoleonics. Finally, my year-long project is coming to fruition. However, will it be a magnus opus? Will it be my pièce de résistance? Or will it be a parvum opus? Only time will tell. The aim of this video is to give an introduction to the campaign and go through all the nitty-gritty of how I'm going to run it. Although it is entirely fictional, it's based on some good sources. I'm sure some of these titles will be recognisable because I've referenced them before. From a rules perspective, I'll be using Grand Armée 2, and from the campaign perspective, I'm using predominantly the solo Wargaming guide with a few add-ons from a few other places. Alright, let's crack on. This is my campaign area of operations, and the first thing I will say, it is not a true reflection of geographical reality. Whilst villages, towns and rivers might have the correct name, they are certainly not in the right place. The ground is predominantly flat and covered in forest. The main River Narew runs from Bialystok over to the west and then down south towards the bottom left-hand side of the map. The Podyaski Marsh dominates the eastern side of the area of operations, and further south the River Bug running from east to west joining the River Narew. There are numerous towns and villages spread across the area, Bialystok being the largest, followed by Nowe Wikno over on the west and Katuszin to the southwest. Roads connecting the towns and villages are poor. Bridges are either wooden or stone construction, the wooden ones being less reliable. The rest of the Grand Armée, Napoleon et al. Are in Warsaw, which is way off to the west of Katuszin. Mission: 18 Corps is to provide flank protection east of the River Narew to the Grand Armée's advance north of Warsaw. Tasks: neutralise Russian Southeastern Corps in vicinity of Bialystok, block Russian forces from crossing the River Narew, and protect Katuszin assembly area and lines of communication to Warsaw. Timings: be prepared to move on December the 6th. Righty-ho, now we're into the campaign outline from the gaming perspective. One turn is going to be 1 day. I'll have weekly random events, and there'll be a weather change, or potentially a weather change, every 2 days. From the movement perspective, it is very much march divided, fight united. Divisions may or must move independently. One division will occupy a 7 hex area, or a 4 hex length on a road. And therefore, if you're going in line of column, it's going to be strung out a fair old distance. Brigades can be reassigned to different divisions after the second week as the need fits, and there's no cross-country movement through woods or marshes. One key element is that lines of communication must be protected. A minimum of 100 men per town per village for that protection, and therefore the overall numbers, manpower-wise, will reduce dramatically the further the corps moves. When forces meet, I'll be dicing to decide if there is a combat or one side decides to withdraw. And I'll try to do at least 3 options for each French scheme of manoeuvre so that you can decide which one you want to follow. I intend to do a bi-weekly situational review, which will include unit locations, strengths, and enemy movements, etc. There'll be 3 options when meeting the enemy: accept battle, retreat 1 day's move with the attacker advancing, and if the retreat is blocked, it's fight or surrender. I'll be rolling 1d6 for the outcome. Commanders, which are pedestrian or blusterer, accept battle on a 1 and will retreat on a 2 or 6. Experienced or bold commanders will accept battle on 1 to 5 and retreat on a 6. All other grades are effectively 50-50. Daily movement rates are listed here. I'm not going to go through this in any detail. Suffice to say that cavalry will be going the quickest and the artillery the slowest. The weather will definitely have an impact on this, where there are 2 figures. The first figure is for the first 2-day period, and the second is the second 2-day period. Where there is an S, that means movement has to stop. So let's look at how the weather is going to be generated. On the first turn, I'll roll 2d6 to get the weather start state. Thereafter, every 2 days, I'll roll 1d6 and either move down one, stay the same, or move up one. For general supplies, units must be able to trace a route to a friendly occupied town or village via a road without enemy interference. If they can't, then after 2 days they will lose 25% of their strength, after 4 days 50%, and after 1 week they will cease to exist. Every time a unit comes to a bridge, I will dice for its status. Stone bridges on a 1 to 5 are okay, and wooden bridges on a 1 to 4 are okay. Anything else will require engineer support to repair the bridge, and they will have to take 1 day. Manpower is key, but I'm afraid it's not going to last too long. Due to desertion, foraging, Cossacks, sickness, etc., all units except Cossacks will reduce their strength by 5% every week due to attrition. Casualties for battle will be calculated as follows. Dispersed units will lose 30% of total strength casualties, worn units 15%. All units, regardless of their activity during the battle, will lose 5% of their total strength. These losses are additional to the attrition rates. Due to medical care, after 2 weeks, 25% of battle losses will be able to return to the unit. And some more good news, every month, every unit will get 10% of their losses to date reinforced. Unit strengths for infantry, cavalry and artillery units are listed here. They are taken straight from the Grand Armée rulebook. And obviously this will start to come into play when units start to attrit or lose casualties in battle. Every week I'll be rolling for a potential random event. It's not guaranteed. I won't spoil the surprises, but you can see the titles there and may be able to guess some of the impact on the units. So that's the campaign introduction. Hope it all makes sense. Let's have a look at the forces that are involved. XVIII Corps is commanded by Marshal Guy Lemmerde. That's you chaps. And his chief of staff is Colonel Pierre Bialystok. Lemmerde has 3 divisions, the 21st with Grenadiers, the 22nd with Légère, and the 13th with run-of-the-mill line. He also has some corps cavalry. Let's look at those in a little bit more detail. The pick of the crop then is the 21st Division, commanded by General Marcel Cul-de-Sac. He's got 2 battalions of Grenadiers in that brigade, one of which is large. He's got 2 regiments of Dragoons, an 8-pounder foot battery and a 4-pounder horse artillery battery, a brigade of 4 line battalions and another brigade of 3 line battalions, and a lot of these troops are veteran. The 22nd Division is commanded by General Philippe Fluteboul-Ficelle. He has the 1st Brigade with 2 large Légère battalions, 1 brigade of 3 line battalions, 2 regiments of Dragoons, 2 8-pounder foot batteries, and another brigade of 3 line battalions. The 13th Division, unlucky for some, is commanded by General Xavier de la Lanterne Rouge and has 3 brigades of 3 line battalions. Supporting them is 2 batteries of 4-pounder horse artillery. The corps cavalry is commanded by General Patrice Porcine, 2 regiments of Dragoons, 2 regiments of Chasseurs, 2 regiments of Hussars, and 2 4-pounder horse artillery batteries. The Russian Southeastern Corps is commanded by General Vasily Bugarov, who's pedestrian, and his chief of staff is Colonel Gleb Kikyabolokov. Bugarov also has 3 divisions under his command, along with some corps cavalry. Let's take a look at those. General Count Tolstoy Topolova commands the 14th Division. He has a brigade of Grenadiers, a brigade of 3 battalions of Jaegers, 2 regiments of Dragoons, a 12-pounder foot battery, a 4-pounder horse artillery battery, and a brigade of 4 battalions of Jaegers. The 17th Division, General Otto Mann. 1st Brigade is 2 large battalions of Jaegers. The 2nd through to 4th Brigades have 3 battalions of Musketeers each, some of which are a bit ropey. He's got 2 regiments of Dragoons and 2 9-pounder foot batteries in support. The 33rd Division is commanded by General Pyotr Pisov. He has 3 brigades, each of 3 battalions of Musketeers. and in support for him is 2 9-pounder foot batteries. And finally, the Corps Cavalry, commanded by General Denis Guntich, a brigade of dragoons, a brigade of hussars, and 3 brigades of Cossacks. Now, they're all quite small units, the Cossacks, so we'll see how they fare. There's also 2 batteries of horse artillery in support. In order to make the campaign work as previously discussed with all the various factors, I've got to do some serious number crunching. Each of the divisions will have a status board as displayed here. The brigades are broken down into different units, what grade they are, and the start state, which is strength of troops, and then the current state, and as an example, that is as at the 13th of December. And at that date, if no battles have been had, then it's a 5% attrition rate across the board for all of the units. Note that the artillery won't be able to take a 5% hit on the guns, so an annotation of 5% is made in that column, and ultimately when they hit enough to take away a gun, they lose a gun. I'm sure that's all absolutely as clear as mud. Anyway, I've got to do the number crunching, so you don't have to worry about it, but I'll be briefing in my bi-weekly sit rep. Just one other point, you'll note all of the various annotations of unit names. They are completely fictitious. They may well have been a 1st Battalion of the 21st Jaegers, but I don't know who they were and I don't know where they were. So this is my campaign with borrowed, potentially, names and numbers of units.
Bonjour mes amis, je suis Bialystok, chef de cabinet de Marshal Lemmerde. Alright, I think I'll spare you the franglais anymore. Basically, it is the eve of battle. Myself and the staff have prepared 3 options for the initial corps movement into the area of operations. I'll brief those now.
The general situation is as follows. 18 Corps is based around Katuszin, and that is the assembly area, with lines of communication to Warsaw going off to the west. The intercorps boundary with the rest of the Grand Armée will effectively lie along the River Narew. The Russian Southeastern Corps' headquarters is known to be at Bialystok, but that unfortunately is the limit of the French intelligence. Other unit locations, in what strength and exactly where they are completely unknown. Looking a little bit closer at the southwest corner of the area of operations, in particular around Katuszin and the Corps assembly area, I'll now brief 3 options for the initial movement of the Corps. Option 1 has the bulk of the Corps moving towards Nowe Wickno. The cavalry will take the lead, followed by the 21st Division, Corps HQ and the 22nd Division. 13th Division will remain in the rear to provide a line of communication security. Option 1 has the following advantages. It is close to the main advance of the Grand Armée and it's a concentration of force. However, the disadvantages are that it has an exposed rear and flank, and it will be a slow advance with all of those units going up the single road. Option 2 has again the bulk of the corps moving towards Nowe Wickno, with the cavalry taking the lead, followed by the 21st Division and the Corps HQ. This time the 22nd Division will move over to the northeast and the 13th Division over to the east. The advantages to this choice are, again, it is close to the main advance and it is a broad, quicker advance than option 1. However, the main disadvantage is that the corps is quite dispersed. Option 3 sees the bulk of the corps going towards Zambrów via Brock. Again, the cavalry leading with 22nd Division supporting along with Corps HQ. 21st Division will move north along to Nowe Wickno and the 13th Division to the east, again securing lines of communication. The advantages are that it's probably an unexpected route and it is a broad, quicker advance than the other options. Disadvantages though, the corps again is dispersed and it is a further distance from the main Grand Armée's advance.
So you are Marshal Lemmerde. Before you make your choice, you need to know that the weather is forecast to be heavy rain on the 6th of December. Unfortunately, I rolled a 9 on my start state weather chart. Not ideal. So over to you. I would like comments if you want to get involved about your selection of the scheme of manoeuvre by the 26th of February. The first briefing will be on the 2nd of March. I've no idea where this is going to go, but it should be fun.
Au revoir, mes amis.